You've had a lot of breakthroughs. You've read the books, done the therapy, taken the assessments, had the aha moments, and you can perfectly describe your patterns. I'm a people pleaser. I avoid conflict. I need external validation. I overthink everything. You see it, you name it, and then you repeat it like you're narrating your own documentary while you're starring in it. Why? Why is that? I'm going to tell you something that might sound harsh, but please stay with me, as I also thought it was harsh when a multimillionaire, well, told me this when I was in my 20s. He said, "To know and not to do is not to know." You don't actually know something works or doesn't work until you do it. All the insight in the world is just theory until you apply it. I learned this the hard way when I started my business 20 some years ago. I knew all the marketing techniques. I'd studied them for years. I knew how to track results, how to test messages and copy, and how to optimize funnels. I could probably teach this stuff, but I wasn't doing it in my own business, and my business wasn't growing. So, did I actually know those techniques would work? Nope. I believed they might, and I hoped they would, but I didn't know because I hadn't done them. I was like a swimming instructor who's never been in the water, very confident and very hopeful that it would work for you. Not very useful if you start to struggle. You see, knowledge without application isn't knowledge, it's simply theory. It's hope. If you look at the etymology of the word, as if we were in the Scripps National Spelling Bee and asked the moderators, the first part of the word means, well, to know, right? And we know that part. But the ledge part of the word is believed to have come from leche, which is Leche, and Old English suffix, and it actually means action or practice. So knowledge is really knowing and practicing. And most people think the gap between knowing and doing is willpower. You just need to force yourself to do it, right? How many times have you said that to yourself? I just need more discipline. That's it. I just need to push through. But the gap isn't bridged by willpower. The gap is bridged truly by want power. And let me show you what I mean. When you try to use willpower, I will make myself do this, you're using force. You're trying to discipline yourself into action, and that will work for a while until it doesn't. Because willpower runs out. It's your phone battery will eventually, if you don't plug it in, get to 1%, and then you're done. Want power is different. Want power is, I want this outcome more than I want to stay comfortable. That's not force, that's a pull. As humans, we don't have energy, as I learned from Brendan Burchard, just like power plants don't have energy. We create energy. That's what power plants do. That energy is created through wanting, through desire, and it comes from listening to your heart. Most people are stuck in an insight trap who see the pattern but can't change it, aren't stuck because they lack willpower. They're stuck because they're not letting their head override their heart. Your heart knows what it wants. It's been telling you for months, probably years, maybe even decades. But your head keeps shutting it down. It keeps saying, that's not practical. That's too risky. What if it doesn't work? Listen, you need more proof first. Let's be realistic. Ugh, such dangerous words. Your head sounds like the world's most Your head sounds like the world's most pessimistic life coach. So your heart quiets down and you stay stuck. Not because you don't want it enough, but because you've trained yourself to ignore what you want in favor of what seems safe or logical or probable. I worked with someone last year who'd been in therapy for 3 years and then switched over to coaching for another two. She could map her entire psychological landscape. 5 years of professional discovery. That's longer than most people spend in college. Listen, she knew she was a people pleaser. She knew she hated conflict and avoided it, and she knew she needed external validation. Wonderful self awareness. And she was still doing all of it. Still saying yes when she meant no. Still avoiding the hard conversations. Still looking for confirmation from everyone else before making a move. She told me, she said, I see the pattern. I name the pattern, and then I repeat the pattern. She said, what the hell's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you. What's happening is your head is bullying your heart into almost silence. She knew she needed to have a conversation at her job with her manager about her workload. Her heart, and frankly her health, had been telling her this for months. But every time she thought about doing it, her head would step in. He'll think you can't handle it. He'll be disappointed. What if he thinks less of you? So what would she do? She'd wait, gather more data, try to prove it was necessary, build a case, like she was preparing for trial instead of just asking for help. Her head was running the show, and her heart was getting quieter and quieter, maybe even sadder and sadder. On our call, I asked her, what does your heart really want? She said, I want help. I can't do this alone. Okay. So why are you saying that? Why aren't you stepping up? She said, because it sounds weak. Notice what just happened there. Her heart knew exactly what it wanted. It wanted help. But her head told her that wanting help made her weak. So she silenced her heart. And then she wondered why nothing changed. The shift wasn't about willpower. It wasn't, I will force myself to have this conversation. It was, my heart wants help. And my head's job is to figure out how to ask for it, not talk me out of wanting it. Instead of your head telling your heart to shut up, why don't you let your heart tell your head to step up? After reassigning her head's thinking, she actually had the conversation the next day. Not because she suddenly became brave, because she stopped letting her head override her heart. She knew what was in there. And you know what her manager said? He said, thank you for bringing this up. I had no idea you were carrying all of this. Let's figure out how to redistribute some of this work. The story her head had been telling her all along. He'll think you're weak. He'll be disappointed. That wasn't even close to the reality. Her head had written an entire disaster movie, and her manager had just basically said, hey, thanks for telling me. She'd spent months believing it because her head seemed louder and maybe even more accurate than her heart. But that was just a habit. This is where choice and intention and capability actually come into play. When your heart leads and your head serves, what happens? Choice. You choose based on what you actually want, not what feels safest. Intention. So cool. You're clear about where you're going, at least for now. Capability. Your head gets to do what it's good at, strategizing the path to get what your heart wants. When your head leads and your heart is silenced, there's no real choice, just risk avoidance. There's no clear intention, just drifting, whatever's going to feel good next. And capability, it's wasted on solving the wrong problem. Okay, going back to my business. I knew all the marketing techniques. My head had all the knowledge. But my head didn't want the discomfort of implementing them, of not being sure, posting consistently or putting myself out there or being visible or making videos like this and risking criticism. So I didn't do them. I told myself it was because I was too busy, because I needed to refine the strategy first, because I needed to improve my content, because the timing wasn't right. But what really was happening? My head was protecting me, but it was also diminishing what my heart wanted, because my heart wanted my business to grow. I wanted to reach people like you, and growth required risk. So my head kept finding reasons to wait. My head became very creative, as a matter of fact, with excuses. Should have been a novelist or something. And when I finally shifted, when I let my heart lead and asked my head to serve that desire, everything changed. Not because I learned anything new, but because I stopped using my knowledge as an excuse to avoid doing. To know and not to do is not to know. You don't actually know what works until you do it. And you won't do it until you stop letting your head silence your heart. Use your want power. Reconnect with it. If you're stuck in the insight trap, if you see the pattern but can't figure out how to shift it, the strategy call will show you where your head is overriding your heart. Seriously, it will. It's based on objective measurement, not just theory, but math. Okay, wait a minute. Math is sort of a theory, but it's also a system and one that works. But I digress. In the call, we'll map the thinking pattern that keeps you in theory instead of in action. Right now, though, I want you to ask yourself, what does my heart actually want? Not what's practical, not what's safe, not what can I prove will work, but what do I actually want? And then notice, what does your head say? Does it even allow you to admit it? Or does it give you itself an out by saying, oh, listen, I don't know. I don't even know what I want. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Those words, I know and I don't know, are two of the most dangerous sentences you could ever speak or listen to. Both of them stop you from thinking. Once you say, I know, you're done. Your brain doesn't have to work anymore. Once you say, I don't know, and you allow that to be, your brain also doesn't have to work anymore. But I want you to truly ask yourself, what do I actually want? Try to listen to your heart. And then drop it in the comments. Because the gap between insight and action isn't willpower. It's whether you're willing to let your heart lead. Use your want power. Get back in touch with it. Now, in the next lesson, that's called the not enough story. Why nothing you do ever feels like enough. If you're ready to stop letting your head override your heart, if you want your heart to tell your head to step up, you want to shift from knowing to doing, please book your strategy call. That's something you can actually do very quickly. The link's right below. One more lesson after this. Let's finish course 2 nice and strong.